Good evening. All that's listening to us. We come at this time at 5 p.m. to a zoning public hearing on the comprehensive land use plan. And we're at this time going to begin that procedure. Mr. William Flynn, if you will come, planning and zoning, our planning and zoning director to lead us into Mr. Wall.
Sir. Good afternoon. As many of you know, we come here today to bring closure to something new that we're going to start with. So it's like a beginning and an end and a beginning. So what we're here tonight for is the adoption of the Northampton County's first comprehensive land use plan. So we can move forward with other changes in the county for the good. And many of you already know Mr. Roger Walden. He's going to do the presentation. He's been our consultant and has done a fine job putting together this comprehensive land use plan for us. I believe he has a small presentation put together tonight, PowerPoint. And so at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Roger Walden for the presentation of the comprehensive land use plan for Northampton County.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Roger Walden, and it's very nice to see you again and to be here in Northampton County. And thanks to our IT person for making all of this happen, and Mr. Flynn. And I've got a lot of thank yous, but I'll say some of those. So we are here tonight. I'm with you to present 3 documents for your consideration and hopefully your adoption. A new comprehensive plan, as Mr. Flynn has mentioned, and then amendments that you are required to make according to new state legislation to your zoning ordinance and your subdivision regulations.
Is that mic on there? Check. Okay.
Okay, maybe I should get closer to it. Okay. Okay. So just a little bit of background. And I've mentioned much of this to you before. The county, or Northampton County, is required by the state of North Carolina to make amendments to your zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. That's because of the new legislation that was passed modernizing the statutes that give the authority to municipalities and counties to regulate land use and to do zoning. So you have to, according to align with the state legislation, you have to make these technical changes to zoning and subdivision. And also there are provisions in the state statutes that say that you have to have a comprehensive plan. And most counties and jurisdictions in the state of North Carolina do, but there are several that don't, including Northampton. So this is kind of a big deal, first step for the county to take in doing a comprehensive plan that sets forth the existing circumstances and then the goals and for the future and what it is that we want the county to be doing and directions which the county will be moving in the future. And so that's what the comprehensive plan that we've got to give to you tonight. And so it was prepared with the help of a comprehensive plan advisory committee that you appointed, and had great help from your staff, from Mr. Jackson, Mr. Flynn, Mr. Lasser, Ms. Smallwood, and I really have enjoyed working with your staff on this. And then we took this plan to the planning board in March, and the planning board recommended unanimously that you approve the plan. So I'm going to first go into a little bit of detail about the plan itself, and then I'll say a couple of things about the zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. But about the plan itself, I have to credit your manager with this, Mr. Jackson. Thank you for making this excellent suggestion that the first thing in the comprehensive plan be an executive summary. Often that's something that's off to the side or you do later. And but we worked on this to actually include what I think is a very good executive summary as the first piece of the comprehensive plan. That it has background about the plan, why it was done. And the thing that I like about the way this executive summary came out is that it serves both as an introduction to this plan, and it can also be a standalone document. So if somebody wants to get some information about zoning and land use issues in Northampton County, you can hand in a 5-page executive summary, and that kind of has the big picture. It identifies the key issues and the key recommendations, and it also includes the reference to the need that we just talked about for some zoning ordinance amendments. So this lays out the vision for the county, but then there's also the work should be done once it's adopted. The table of contents is pretty standard. After the overview, there are the 4 themes that are most important to the county right now that need attention: housing, utilities, economic development, and land use. And then there's an implementation section. The key issues and recommendations that are spelled out in here and expanded upon: manage growth and infrastructure. We want a game plan for that. We want to be working to expand economic opportunities. At the same time, preserve rural character in the parts of the county that are most important for rural character to be preserved. And then amend the zoning ordinance to make some changes to make this all work better. Probably the most important piece of the plan, in addition to all those words, is the land use plan itself. And what we have there is, and again, the advisory committee was so helpful in putting this together. The land use plan identifies where existing development is located now, where development ideally would be growing in the future, what areas of the county would be growing, what areas of the county are likely to remain semi-rural and preserve the county's character. Now, this map is not a zoning map. It's not law, it's not regulation, but it is a guide. It says, here's what we expect, and it's to the community and to developers and everybody. Here's how we expect development patterns to play out. And one of the things that the state statutes say is that if somebody requests a change in zoning of their property, say, for example, the planning board has to say, does that comply or not comply with this vision, with this comprehensive plan? If it does, great. If it doesn't, that doesn't mean it can't be adopted. But if a zoning change is proposed and the planning board looks at the plan and says, well, no, it doesn't align with this, but it's a good idea. Commissioner decides it's a good idea. You can do it, and that automatically changes the plan to reflect that zoning change. So I like that provision in the state statutes. So the planning board has recommended that the county board of commissioners adopt this comprehensive plan, and so that's what is on the table for you tonight. While I'm here, I'm going to talk about the next 2 items. First, the amendments to zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations. A little bit of background: the county is required. You are required by the state of North Carolina to make amendments to your zoning ordinance, subdivision regulations to reflect current state law. You also have to have a comprehensive plan. The zoning ordinance and subdivision regulations have to be in place by June 30th of this year. So just in a couple months is when that bell goes off, and the counties and communities that have not made these changes to align with state law are no longer in compliance and possibly might not be able to administer their ordinance anymore. So that's kind of the background on that. The state required amendments are almost all technical in nature. changing references to statutes, adjusting terminology. A lot of definitions need to be added. And so a lot of technical things. Consideration of substantive changes to the ordinance and regulations is something that needs to be considered immediately upon adoption of these technical changes. The key themes for the changes in the zoning ordinance, all references have to be changed to refer to existing state statutes because a lot of the state statutes are now out of date. And you've got to comply with the existing definitions of terms that the state is requiring. You've got to adjust procedures to follow the state's framework for that. And eliminate this next one, just wanted to highlight, according to the state statutes, you'll need to eliminate provisions for conditional uses and conditional use permits. And that gets now consolidated under the banner of special use permits. So that's something that will be changing your procedures a bit. Some changes to what it means to have a vested right. So accordingly to that, because that conditional use, you need to we had to revise the Board of Adjustment responsibilities and remove some other things that the state says you can't do anymore. So some of the things are just minor, like changing. You can't call it a public hearing anymore. It's just going to be called a hearing. That's the way it is. They need to some requirements for certification of violations. So that all needs to be done. It's all technical. For the zoning ordinance, there's some details in there finally for the planning board's recommendations. I mentioned the required statements of consistency with plans for anybody who's any property that's proposed to be rezoned, and then those new definitions. So I'm not going to go over all these, but this is an example of the kinds of terms that now have a state definition. So what we did in this draft that's in front of you is adjust all of your existing definitions so that they align with what the state says they have, how those terms need to be defined. So the recommendation is that that County Board of Commissioners adopt the amendments to the zoning ordinance. You have that document, and what we did was take your existing zoning ordinance and do track changes, so deletions, additions of text, so that once you adopt that, then we would then clean it up and make it a regular looking document. So now the other piece of this, which is less complicated, but it's also important, is changes to the subdivision regulations. Again, the subdivision regulations need to be adjusted so that the references to state statutes will be current. There's a requirement in state law that you have to clarify and adjust what performance guarantees you can be attaching to specific subdivision approvals. And there will no longer be an authority to bury utility lines if for something that's off-site of a subdivision proposal. So that's where we are, and our recommendation and the planning board's recommendation is that you take action to adopt the comprehensive plan, adopt the amendments to the zoning ordinance, and adopt the amendments to your subdivision regulations.
Thank you. Board members, at this time, let's see if anybody in the public, has anybody called in? Anybody desiring to call in to ask a question? We'll give you that opportunity to do so now. Any persons in the community desiring to call in to ask questions about our comprehensive land use plan? Any questions? Any questions from any citizens? Madam Clerk, have you got anybody calling?
I did not receive any questions or further notice they were to send us questions that they had. We have not, I don't have, like Mr. Payne, we haven't received any.
You have not received any in the last few minutes? Okay. Board members, this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you need to ask. This is for us. The first comprehensive land use plan zoning for this and for Northampton County. Are there any questions that you all need to ask? Mr. Flynn, are there anything that we need to be aware of that we do not have? I know you studied this and you've been through it as I have.
No, sir, I don't believe so. Just going forward from here, we will be making the text changes to match the adopted
Got it.
changes that need to be made.
Okay. That's what we'll be waiting for next is the other changes that'll come that we need to make to apply with this. So if you will continue to work on making those changes, and we were certainly hoping that we could keep our consultant that we have now to Mr. Rogers to work with us, make those changes. Board members, do you have any board members? Do you have any questions? This is a good comprehensive plan. I read it line for line. I've gone over even with Mr. Rogers. I want you all to know that I have had the opportunity to sit with him, talk with him, look at this plan. And when we suggested that perhaps that there might be some things we need to add, he went back and he added those things because what this does is lines up with our strategic plan. This lines up with our strategic plan. It's a part of our strategic plan. So all of this was added in. It also includes the kinds of developments that we are planning to move forward on in the next 12 months, the next 2 years. All is included in this plan. And what I like about it, it can, any other things that will come can be added to this as we move along if we need to do so. County Manager, do you have any?
Two things. One, on page 24, you'll see the condensed categories for the future land use plan. I want to thank Mr. Walden for that fabulous table there. Simplifies a lot of things that we're trying to do in terms of development there. Second thing, Mr. Tyner, you touched upon the 5-year plan. This checks off a major box, and I'll read it for our citizens so they can understand. For planning and zoning, by 2020, Northampton County will rewrite its planning and zoning ordinances and regulations to be expansion friendly. And a subnote of that was to create a committee consisting of citizens, contractors, builders, and county staff to adopt and rewrite new regulations. Check. We can check this off.
Check it off. Check it off. Thank you, County Manager. Any other board members? It's Commissioner Faulkner.
Yes, sir, I am here.
Okay, Commissioner Faulkner, do you have anything that you would like to bring to this discussion at this time?
I would just like to thank the entire group of citizens and contractors for providing this very thorough and easy to follow guide for our county as it relates to growth and development.
Thank you. Mr. Edwards, do you have anything that you desire?
I have none, just a thorough plan, and it incorporates all the things that that we've been discussing, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
I've greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Housing.
Commissioner Buffalo, do you have anything? It's the way we do it. Commissioner Boone.
Yes, sir. I echo everyone else that has spoken before me. And I just would like to add again that many thanks goes to the staff and our consultant, and of course the advisory committee of citizens. It's a great day for Northampton County to continuously move forward.
First of its kind.
Thank you. No other comments? Making sure that we have listened to all the comments. No other comments? At this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Flynn, how do we need to do this for action? Do we need to do it in our regular session, or can we do it in this session?
I think general convention is to dismiss the public hearing and then go into a regular session to make a decision, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Is that correct, Scott? Mr. Attorney?
It is, and I think Chairman Tyner, since we're all here and present, what is your pleasure? Would you prefer just to take action on it after dismissing the public hearing?
Yes.
Or adding it to our agenda at 6 p.m.?
Board members? Say it again. Now?
And I think that's cleaner.
Okay, that's clean?
Then we don't have to amend the agenda.
That's right. We had to amend, that's right. At this time, no other discussion? No other discussion? No other comments? This public hearing is now closed. Board members, we're now back in session, and I would like to know what is your pleasure about the adoption of our comprehensive land use plan?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval. Oh, go ahead, Madam Vice Chair.
You can go ahead, sir.
I move approval of the comprehensive land use plan.
To include the zoning ordinance,
To include zoning ordinance amendments, subdivision ordinance, and the comprehensive plan.
okay? Been moved and properly second that we approve the plan. Motion made by Commissioner Edwards, second by Commissioner Boone. Are there any questions, any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by the usual sign, aye.
Aye.
Hi, Buffalo.
I Faulkner.
Ayes have it, motion is carried. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Walton, for your time spent with us. Thank you for all the things that you have done, and we appreciate it.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed working.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll be in recess until 6 p.m. We'll be in recess until 6 p.m.
You got a message.